Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
PD Beats here from Popternative, speaking to Cam Gigandet about Black Warrant in theaters on digital on demand December 9th. Welcome to the show, man. Thank you so much for being here.
No, thank you for having me. Appreciate that.
I mean, this movie, edge of your seat kind of most of the movie. That's what the movies are all about, right? Let's be honest about it.
Right? I feel like we need that about now. We need some just solid, good entertainment and just keep you on the edge of your seats. That's what we need right now.
I feel like it depends on the project, but like when you have something like this where it is kind of the crime and there is going to be those action-packed scenes, is the mindset, wow, let's just take the audience for a ride, or you focus on character development? Like, what was the mindset with this one specifically?
I think the mindset definitely was, let's entertain people as much as we can.
Yeah.
And whatever we can do to make it worth the price of admission, let's go for that. And yeah, and then, if we just have fun while we're at it, that's just an added bonus. So.
When you get the script and it's like you're about to go do this thing and shoot this movie, what are the questions you're asking about these characters specifically? Because I feel like, especially in a movie like this, it's just nonstop pace. So it's like, what do you want? Like, what are you hoping people get out of your character? Like, what are you thinking about specifically?
Well, this one was, I don't know how much I can reveal about the story, but there's Tom Berenger was in it as well.
Yep.
And we have a storied history, a past. And so a lot of the focus was on the relationships between, the cast and whatever those relationships unfolded to be.
No, 100%.
Is that vague enough?
Oh, absolutely. I feel like you've been doing interviews for some of your amazing projects for years now. You're still always walking on eggshells during interviews, right?
I know. And I always, and I still can't quite figure out how to talk about movies that without revealing too much. But they've told me that I should be writing stuff down and like have my answers. I can't do that.
Well, the
I would
thing
be
is,
bored
it's
by
like
myself.
I've always been a big fan of when I do my interviews too, and I actually got praised for this. Sometimes is like you like ask questions where they talk a little bit about what's going on, but not yeah, exactly.
Right. Not so. How does the movie end? Yeah.
Does your character make it?
No, I can say that he does. He does make it.
You could say that. Well,
you could say that.
Absolutely. Is one of your favorite things about being a storyteller diving into all these different worlds? Because you have been able to work on projects where you're transforming into these different characters in these different worlds. Is that the best part about it, Cam?
Yeah, that is without a doubt the best part. I mean, to just experience new things and, not have any day really ever be the same from the day I started this journey. Not one single day has been the same. I mean, there's been rough days and there's been good days, but no day is alike, which is, I think I would get bored with anything else other than that. So
actor-director conversations really interest me. What are those conversations like with Tibor, specifically with this, and kind of the angles with a lot of your characters and Tom specifically?
We Tibor and I have worked together before, which is kind of great. You kind of build like a secondhand kind of communication, really shorthand.
Yeah.
Not secondhand, shorthand communication. And so that was kind of great. And then on this one, he kind of just let me play around as much as, I don't know, there's like when you work together, you kind of build like a trust. He builds trust for me. I have trust for him. And then, which just gives us that much more freedom to kind of play around and kind of experiment, even as we're in the filming, nothing is set, planned, and it has to be this way. And so I think that was kind of the best part of, working on that with a director that I've worked with before, is that we just kind of have the trust and freedom to play around as much as possible.
I feel like that's also a cool thing. Does it ever happen where you're working with a director or a writer or even like an actor where you're like, this just feels good? Like this is going to happen again.
This just feels good.
No, like it's working. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Yeah. I mean, because you definitely, personalities mesh sometimes, personalities don't. And so when you find a director that you have a good rapport with, you definitely feel like, oh, this we should definitely do this again. But I mean, there's been directors that I've loved and I still haven't worked with them again.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just you kind of have to have timing, the right project, the right people, and it's just kind of, you just hope for the best.
I just reminded you, you're like, yeah, there's a lot of people I wanted to work with, and I didn't get a chance to. Thanks, you jerk.
Damn it. Yeah, Jeff Wadlow, what the hell? Never back down? I mean, come on.
Okay, yes, I was about to. Okay, so, man, I love that movie. I will.
That was a good one. That was fun.
And you know the best part about that too is like one of my favorite bands. Like the soundtrack of that is like amazing. And one of my favorite bands was like Rise Against, and they use Under the Knife, where Sean's character is training to like beat up Ryan.
The whole montage. Yes, of course.
I mean, is it crazy to think though that like you work on these movies that like you did that quite a while ago? That was like, and
I know
people are still talking about these projects. Like it's pretty crazy.
Well, it's weird because, and it's also, I don't know, maybe it was just a different time. I mean, and it was not like it was some big crazy movie, but they gave us like 4 months of preparation. We shot it in Orlando. They gave us like 2 months of fighting choreography, rehearsals. And so it's like, the whole thing was like a 5-month shoot, which, you know, nowadays they'd be like, let's do this in 18 days. And so it's a different time.
I don't think Ryan is fully a villain. I've been talking about this because you're gonna tell right now, like I'm very passionate about this movie, but like I feel like Ryan is like, you see sprinkles of like misunderstood.
He had a rough growing
the
up.
Whole
His
movie,
dad was an asshole.
The whole movie is alluding to that if you think about it.
Exactly.
The whole movie. And you beat up Evan Peters, which is,
I know.
Yeah, like, and you get mad.
Evan.
Yeah. Man, that movie. That was a crazy movie. And it was one of those movies too. Like what came out, like I was like in my teens when I saw that. That was like the movie to go. That was like this is cool. So yeah. You know what I mean? Like
so wild.
I know. And it's just so many projects too. I mean, you were also part of some TV shows like The OC, right? Where like
The OC, that was a big
stuff
one too.
Was insane. Could you imagine if that show was around with social media? Like how many people would be talking about that episode?
Know, right? Yeah, I didn't even think about that. I mean, that was before that whole
scene. Everyone that was like
everything.
Talked about at hockey practice the next week.
Yeah, that's where the social media was.
That whole thing with like Misha Bart, like that whole thing with Summer, was like, and like, oh my god, is that also something too that you think about where you wrap a project, people say, oh my God, that was a great movie. But at the end, you have other projects you're working on as well. How do you kind of like keep going, so to speak, with projects? Because there's always projects, right? There's always going to be moments people are going to talk about certain things. Is that a tough balance, would you say?
I don't know. It's you don't, I mean, once you're done, later it comes out and it'll be some big thing, or it'll be a bomb, or it'll be this, or it'll be that. But like once you're done working, it's like, all right, on to the next one. I can't, because then you can sit and obsess about the things that you did or how you did it or all that kind of stuff, and they'll get in your head on the next one. So it's just easier just to let it go. And I mean, when we did Twilight, I don't think anybody really knew.
Oh yeah, those movies. Yeah,
yeah. And when we were shooting, I mean, because we were like, oh yeah, it's a book, and that was pretty much all I had known about it. And so it was, to me, just a book, and I guess it was going to be a bigger movie. But we didn't have any idea that it was going to be what it was.
I would have probably got, because it's funny because I'll interview people from my show that have been in Twilight, but they're talking about another project. And we will get comments from time to time. Why did you ask about Twilight?
Right. I mean, it was such a cultural like freak of nature.
Oh yeah,
Twilight was.
It was like, and it felt almost like, in terms of the movies coming out and the hype, it was like a roller coaster you couldn't like escape.
I know, you really couldn't.
Which is,
I mean, I think my daughter, who's 13.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure if she's seen the movie, but they call her at school Twilight Girl because her dad was in Twilight. I mean, it's just like, it's such a massive thing.
And
Sorry,
and,
Everton.
and very, 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 very quickly, going back to Never Back Down. I just want to say, because that movie and School of Rock, they're my two favorite movies of all time. They both have two insane scenes that are like so over the top. So like School of Rock, it's that battle of the bands in the middle of the day that's packed basically. And then that house party UFC fight that just breaks out in the beginning of the movie.
Wait, does that not happen in real life? I could have swore that
You're
that
like
was
giving the guy a tour of this like house party and then this full out like MMA fight with everyone in their proper, like we're like people like all of a sudden have left the house party to like go in this circle like ready to go.
I thought that was more slice of life. I just thought that was happening on every neighborhood block.
You know what I mean, right? It's a house party and then they're here for the
crazy.
show. And then like it's a whole like octagon.
Apparently
there
are no parents anywhere to be found. Just in a multi-million-dollar mansion.
Yeah,
and
it's
let's
crazy.
Have a full-on fight.
Getting back to Black Warrant quickly, when they get a chance to watch this film, because they're going to be able to see it in a lot of capacity. It's going to be in some theaters. It's going to be digital demand, which is exciting. December 9th. What are you hoping they'll get out of it specifically, Cam?
A little escape and a little entertainment and a whole lot of fun. Hopefully.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
I feel like there's been a lot of like, over the past few years. Yeah. And so I feel like something to kind of take them away from that would be, it'd be good enough for me.
No, absolutely. They're like Ryan from Never Back Down. They're just the worst.
They're just the worst. The people, relax. Lighten up.
Cam,
Enjoy.
thank you so much for coming on the show, man. It was so great chatting with you.
Thank you for having me. I had a good time. Thank you.
This has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative. Previous episodes. Look out for Cam and Black Warrant on demand on digital and theaters December 9th. Till next time, this is Cam and Petey Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.